Hello, and a very warm welcome to the Journey Journals. My name is Gaia from Life of Gaia, and today we have a very special guest with us. His name is Scott Lyons, and he is the CEO and founder of Mycolife. Now, Scott has an incredibly interesting background and passion for mushrooms that has led him to the forefront of his industry in functional mushrooms and adaptogenics. His company, Mycolife, not only focuses on producing high quality products, but also strives to create an impact in the world. And today we're going to dive into Scott's inspiring story, his vision for Mycolife, and how he weaves his love and passion for mushrooms into every single aspect of his life. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you. Thank you, Gaia, for having me.
So Scott, let's get started right away. I find it incredible how personal stories are able to shape our passions in life. And you had some very profound experiences very early on with psychedelic mushrooms that shaped and influenced where you are today. Can you tell us a little bit about those experiences?
Yeah, definitely. So I'll bring up, I guess, my first experience, which was back in 2004, right out of high school into college, my freshman year. I met a musician in a web development class. And at the time, I had gotten a guitar, was, working with it for about a year and, really just trying to learn because I've always loved music, never really played anything. And he suggested that I try some mushrooms. And at the time I was like, oh, I don't know. I had drinking in high school and smoked a little bit of pot, but never anything like that. So I actually did a little bit of research, decided, yeah, let's give it a shot. And I went on my first journey, and it was really incredible. I was playing the guitar with him, and just everything kind of clicked. And my passion for music, for pretty much everything, kind of came to light on my first journey. It was like that epiphany that so many people have, something I was really missing in my life. And so after that, I dove deep into research, started growing a little bit. Then I realized, with how much substrate was and the cost of everything, that I could try doing my own. I've always been really into creating things. So I got my own ingredients, started messing around with that. I feel like it was better than what I was able to buy. My first experience, on top of the music was, I feel like I had an epiphany, because everything made so much sense to me. My childhood, my love for the arts, I really didn't have any of that as a child. And I found it at a late age, but it's been, a huge drive for me moving forward, and in my business and my life and my love's life, and, my whole family. So it's been really great.
Scott, we've had the opportunity to speak before this interview, and I have had the honor and pleasure of hearing you play the piano, and you are extremely talented. Could you tell us a little bit about how these early experiences that you had with psychedelics shaped your learning the piano?
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you, first of all. I appreciate that. So that first night that I played with this friend, that I had my first trip on, I got to try different instruments, and I realized that, I had like an inner voice with other instruments, and kind of hearing the full song, and I knew what I wanted to hear. So it really led me into kind of researching also into instruments and different things. And guitar is pretty technical, honestly, one of the harder instruments, I think. And I felt so natural once I hopped on a piano. It's all laid out for you. I can hear all the overtones and the resonance. And I fell in love with the piano. I ended up, within 6 months, buying a piano off Craigslist, and within a couple of years buying a really nice Kauai K5, actually, because just it brought me so much joy and so much love for the passion that I had received.
Because I believe that you then used music and created a piece of music to propose to your wife. Could you tell us a little bit about the story around that?
Yes, I did. So I proposed to my wife at a restaurant with on a grand piano, the song that I wrote her, and it actually wasn't the first time I played it for her. I had written it for her one night and sent it to her. She was living in Germany at the time, and I just felt I have so much love for her at this point of being together. And this is, what just through that love, this is what I created. We both share that passion and love for music. She's been playing since she was a little kid, and that's definitely been a huge, draw for both of us, especially when we first met.
Amazing. I love it. And so, Scott, it sounds like you've had some pretty profound experiences with psychedelics. Some of them were learning music through it. And it eventually led you to your business, which is the business that you have today called Mycolife. Could you tell me a little bit about how this passion for mushrooms eventually led you to where you are today and to your business?
Yeah, definitely. So as I mentioned before, I was starting to grow in college, like really interested in my self-development. And I started making a substrate that was better than what I was buying. So I decided to start ordering things in bulk and put it on online. So I went ahead and became a sponsor back in 2005 on the Shroomery, which is a pretty big cultivation site, which I would suggest to anybody that's trying to learn how to cultivate. A lot of amazing people on that site. So I was a sponsor on that site and started selling the substrate throughout college. And when I graduated and came back down to South Florida, I realized the need for quality mushrooms, because they just weren't in any of the supermarkets and the restaurants. All you really saw was cremini, the portobello mushrooms. And when you saw gourmet, if they were fresh, they looked horrible. And especially with the gourmet and functional mushrooms, a lot of them don't last very long. They don't travel well. So I saw a big demand for that. I met with a local farmers market, which is called Mirando Farms, and they really helped take me off into the gourmet mushrooms, and that led me into creating a mushroom farm. So I went from just the substrate to the, also doing mushrooms as well.
Fascinating. Would you mind, for the people who don't know, just speaking a little bit into what substrate actually is and what you actually do?
Yeah, definitely. So a substrate, which we have a mushroom substrate, is a medium to grow mushrooms on. We have grain and a coconut core base that we personally use for our manure loving mushrooms. And the grain is used as the spawn, and the substrate is used, as the bulk material.
Scott, there are a lot of people, there are big discussions around purpose and finding your passion and your purpose in life. And, from what I know of you, you seem to have found that passion and purpose. Could you speak a little bit into how that passion plays out within your company and, the people that you work with and the products you produce?
Yeah, definitely. So I really love what I do. Like I mentioned before, when I was in college and I had that first trip, it got me. And ever since, everything in the industry, from the growing aspect all the way to the working together, networking and growing together and collaborating. I mean, this is one of the best industries for this. Everybody that I've worked with and come across, there's nobody that's like a cutthroat out to get you or anything. It's a lot of love, and it's mind-blowing almost, because you see so many negative things going on in the world, but there's just so much love and so much connection and collaboration through this network.
That's a great answer. And it feels to me almost like that's how business should be. And I've experienced psychedelic journeys myself, and the one component that everyone seems to speak about and touch on when they have a journey is really the interconnectedness, and it's as if they become present for the very first time in a lot of cases to this beautiful connection and interconnectedness of everything. And I wanted to ask, because you often speak about, interconnectedness in your business and unity and partnerships and creating and building partnerships. And Mycolife is a lot about that. Could you speak a little bit more into that?
Yeah, definitely. So I feel like if you have a passion in something and you love what you do, you're you're more likely to reach your life goals. And aligning yourself with other people that are in that have the same interest or in the same field, the same interest and the passion as you, is just, you're going to really accomplish things so much better. And I found that working together is just so much better, so much more fun. And like I said, it's a better way to reach your goals, in my opinion.
Partnerships are key, and especially with like-minded individuals, as you just mentioned. Do you have any examples or situations where you've created great partnerships or collaborations that have strengthened your company's mission?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, in the beginning, stages back when I had Sublicious Farms, I also had a venue called Unity 88, and we used it as a networking venue. It was 88 keys and a piano. That's why I was 80. And then Unity, bringing artists, farmers, chefs, people in our industry and in the artistic world together to do events and just, enjoy ourselves. And when I was doing that, I just realized, how much the network grew, just from every single person we met, every artist, every chef, all of us just kind of working towards the same goals. We all had the same passions, and it brought so much happiness too. Like, it was just, some of the best times.
Scott, could you tell us a little bit about Mycolife as a company today and where you see yourself transitioning and heading to in the future?
Yeah, definitely. So right now we really are pretty much hyper focused on our substrate, and also on extracts and helping to build some brands. I've been creating our mixture for our substrate for almost 20 years now, and I feel like we've got that pretty dialed in. Every mushroom is different, but for the manure-based mushrooms, we've got a great mix. So the core focus has kind of been on the substrate, and then we're also doing extracts. And with the extract, we are able to provide a quality product that can be great, for different products, to not have the mushroom taste on a lot of those more bitter mushrooms.
Scott, I feel like today mushrooms, between documentaries like Paul Stamets' one, Fantastic Fungi, or the work being done at Johns Hopkins University around the therapeutic uses of mushrooms, both culinary, functional, and psychedelic mushrooms seem to be coming to the forefront, and seem to be gaining a lot of momentum. What challenges do you foresee in the future in this whole industry, and how do you see us being able to maintain sort of a level of authenticity around products and brands?
So I definitely think there needs to be regulation and sense of, what kind of materials we're using, what kind of metals are in the mushrooms that we're using. It's very important, what we're putting in our bodies, and getting mushrooms from other countries. Mushrooms that are sometimes imported from other countries, contain heavy metals, and it's really hard to regulate when you don't know where your product is coming from. So I think it's kind of important that we have testing, and also that we're testing products and the quality of materials used to make the products.
Now, your vision for Mycolife seems to be rooted in a much broader purpose. Okay. And I wanted to ask you, how do you measure success personally, like outside of financial metrics?
My goal is to express my passion in mushrooms and to psychedelics and be able to share that with as many people as possible. And I found that the best way to do that is to work with other like-minded people that are trying to do the same thing, that have had those those journeys that have really been life-changing, and realize that it can really help people, especially and the mental health arena. I think mental health is one of the most important things that, at the end of the day, we all answer to ourselves.
And Scott, for those people out there who, aspire to lead sort of purpose-driven companies, which is, something gaining popularity at the moment, what advice would you give them in order to create sort of a positive and lasting influence, and to also follow their passion the same way you are?
I would say to go after their passion and after their love, and keep it true to their core values, because if you do that, you're not only gonna enjoy what you're doing, but you're gonna feel good when you're doing it.
Great advice. Do you have any book recommendations? I know you mentioned that website that people can go to learn how to grow mushrooms. Do you have any other recommendations in the ways of videos, documentaries, books that people who are looking to cultivate this passion could refer to?
Definitely. So I mean, when it comes to books, I put a few aside that I thought I would mention. One was called Stealing Fire, and that's how the Navy SEALs in Silicon Valley are revolutionizing the way we live and work. The other was Atomic Habits, which I found as a great self-help book that I think anybody that just for self, building, not only for business but also personal, the habits that we create, as minor as they may be, they all add up, and it's been a great book for myself. And then the last, for people that are really wanting to look into psychedelic journeys and are kind of unsure, I think How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan is great.
Scott, what is your message to the world?
Let's grow together.
Awesome. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I feel like it makes so much more sense to move on in this world, to help each other, to work together towards our goals as human beings, and to live a passionate life, to live a life of love, and to do what we love.
Scott, speaking of passions, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge you for your passion. I've had several conversations with you before. I have learned so much from you. You are such a wealth of information around everything that involves mushrooms. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I love how you are connected to people. I want to acknowledge you for being an amazing father, an amazing partner, an amazing business person, and also for your generosity and sharing and the wealth of information that you are. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. So for those of you who are watching, and if you'd like to connect with Scott, we'll put his details below and the link to his company. If you have questions for him, please feel free to ask. And as always, like or subscribe, or please share this information with